Okay, everyone, we start the class for today, yes? Good morning, guests, respected speaker, and dear participant. On behalf of the organizing committee, I'm Flo as the chairperson for today, would like to warmly welcome you to the online collaborative short course or OCSC 2025, a joint program between Telkom University and University Technology Malaysia. Today, we are excited to continue our journey because the previous week we have the chapter one, and today we have chapter two in the topic blockchain under the grand theme digital transformation in accounting, a global perspective on opportunities and challenges in Industry 4.0. Before we begin, allow me to share some basic rules. Allow me to share some basic rules for today. First, during the speaker presentations, kindly keep your microphone muted. If you have questions during the talk, please write them into the chat box. We'll address them later in the discussion sessions. And also in the discussion sessions, participants are encouraged to ask questions directly to the speakers by unmuting the phone or by the writing in the chat box also. And the end of the class, please turn on the camera for a group photo sessions. And also, lastly, don't forget to fill out the feedback form at the end of the program. We will share it after. It will help us improve our next sessions and also allow you to receive your e-certificate. I hope everyone will gain new insight and inspiration from today's sessions. Okay, right. Okay, today we are diving into the topic of blockchains. Where almost people connect blockchain with the cryptocurrency. Its impact goes beyond that. Blockchain technology has been transforming industries by providing transparency, security, and trust, especially in accounting and finance within the Industry 4.0 era. And today is an honor to welcome our speaker from Telkom University, Mr. Anak Agung Gede Agung STMM. Bapak Agung will share his expertise and insight on this exciting topic. To Bapak Agung, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss Anissa. Good morning, and I hope you all have a very good morning today. Okay, let me share this my presentation. Okay, is my presentation available yet?
Yes, it's visible, Pak.
Okay, today we will explore what is blockchain and its potential, and also limitation of the blockchain. So many people ask me, why blockchain? First of all, this is new, not that new exactly, but it's relatively new. And we have so many opportunity in this area, but so few uh, talents who can understand and can create smart contract and so on and so on. So for for you students, I think this is very good opportunity to enhance yourself. That's it. Okay. As a brief introduction, my name is Anak Agung Gede Agung. I'm an associate professor at the School of Applied Science and also the head of Smart EV Center of Excellence and also a member of TELU blockchain community. I'm also a blockchain researcher, crypto investor, trader. I'm also a miner, staker, and masternode holder. So yes, I've been in this area since 2018 kalau nggak salah ya, before the pandemic. So it's been a while for me. Sudah banyak sedikitnya asam garam sudah berdarah-darah juga di sana seperti itu ya. Oke, our journey today will cover 6 main areas. The first one is a brief history of blockchain, which provides the foundation of understanding for understanding its evolution. The second one is blockchain core concept on how blockchain works in a simple story. Next, cryptocurrency, often referred as the fuel of the blockchain, which power transaction and incentivize network participants. Fourth topic is smart contract, small programs that runs on the blockchain and inherits its power and also limitation. Fifth topic will be non-fungible tokens or NFTs. And the last one will be the opportunities and cure limitation of the blockchain. Okay. Blockchain is a fascinating concept. At its core, it is a secure, shared, and immutable digital ledger. As an illustration, think of it as a book kept by a treasurer, someone who holds your money and keep track of it. It records all the transactions going on, but a treasurer may not be enough. A treasurer might get corrupt. Instead, all nodes or computer in a blockchain can become a treasurer. This may look okay, but again, if there's only one file or one book, it's too risky. So in a blockchain, all nodes have their own book, which means all computers connected to the network will have the blockchain files. So this makes the blockchain more secure and very difficult to tamper, to duplicate. So this way, we don't really need to only one treasurer. If, for example, let's say a mafia boss kidnap our treasurer, business will keep going on. Also, if one or some treasurer are playing dirty, we will know because they are not the only one with the book. All treasurers have their own book and they are sync in real time. So these characteristics make blockchain a powerful tool for ensuring data integrity and building trust among users. It's what underpins the exciting development we'll explore further today. These are the key events in the history of blockchain, which have laid the foundation for this technology. So it's quite old, really. It starting in 1979 when Ralph Merkle proposed hash trees. It's known as Merkle trees, which enable the efficient and secure verification of data integrity in large datasets. Later, in 1982, David Chaum introduced digital cash concept using anonymous cryptographic protocol to explore secure, untraceable transactions. This early idea of digital currency set the stage for further developments. So let's fast forward to 1991 when Haber and Stornetta developed a method for cryptographically linking blocks of documents to create an unalterable timestamp records. This is a direct precursor for blockchain structure. In 2002, Adam Back created Hashcash, a proof of work system designed to deter spam and denial of service attack. In 2004, Paul Finney combined Hashcash with unforkable digital tokens, presenting an early concept for digital cash known as reusable proof of work. Now, the important moment came in 2008 when someone called himself Satoshi Nakamoto published a white paper which provided the blueprint for a decentralized digital currency. And the next year, in 2009, Bitcoin blockchain was operational, marking the beginning of the blockchain's journey into mainstream awareness and applications. So let's take a closer look at how blockchain operates on a technical level. Here, we can see when a transaction is made, the transaction data enters the network and verified by nodes or by computers. Once verified, the transactions are bundled with other transactions to form a new block. You can imagine it as a file containing, let's say, tens or hundreds transactions in it. So this block, each block contains a timestamp, a list of transactions, a hash or a cryptographic fingerprint, and a hash of previous block. Now, here's when it gets interesting. When a new block is created, it is broadcasted to all nodes in the network. The nodes then use a consensus mechanism like proof of work or proof of stake to agree on adding this block to the chain. This consensus ensures that everyone is on the same page, maintaining the integrity of the blockchain. Later, this block is added to the blockchain, and every node or every computer in the network maintain a full copy of the blockchain file. This means every participant has access to the same data set, enhancing transparency and security. Now, before we go on, there's something. This is the hash function, yeah? As we see in the previous slide, that each block contains a hash. So what is a hash? A hash or hash function that takes an input of any size and transform it into an output of a fixed size. So the magic is that you will not get the same output for different input. For example, we have this string, we have this word, there is a new kid on the block. If we put this word into the hash function SHA-256, so this will be the output. So if we change this input slightly, we will see that this hash function produce completely different output. So by observing this output, we can be sure that these two words are different. So anyone want to guess what the difference is? Yes, I put double space between D and the block. So with the hash function, The blockchain will identify how data is changed and reject that data. Now, the consensus mechanism is how nodes on the network agree on data. So it ensures all the to clear or not clearing the data. Okay. Consensus simply means that majority of the nodes must agree on the data to be valid. This comes, however, this comes not without a risk. If the majority of the nodes are corrupt, so the system will fail. So blockchain life is highly dependent on the community. This is an illustration of how data is connected to its owner. But since I'm not sure people of your age ever write or send a letter, I mean physical letter, let's skip this one. Nah, okay, this one is better. Okay, imagine that this is a game, okay? This is a Pokemon game. I'm Imagine you have a data Pokemon. You need to log in to the game to send your Pokemon to your friend. Okay, only players who successfully log in can access the Pokemon storage under the account and trade it with their friends. To complete the trade, they must determine their friend's username and click the confirm button. In blockchain, assets such as cryptos, NFTs, data are connected to your address and can be accessed with something called private keys. You can send your asset to someone by their addresses. Once they are sent, no one can access that asset without a proper private keys. So, this also have a drawback. What happens if someone say forget their private key or send their asset to the wrong address? The answer is, well, basically you're screwed because no one will be able to recover that asset for you. Now, for those who are curious, this is what a block looks like. It holds messages and a list of transactions. This is Bitcoin's 13,855th block. So we see this is the transactions, this is the information, and this is the message. So a block basically looks like this, okay? And this is what a transaction looks like in a web application called wallet. And we can also explore transactions from every block from block zero from the beginning. So in a blockchain, we can trace back our transaction to the very beginning of our transaction. Okay, the last one is this is the blockchain file. So the blockchain file, it looks like this, and it is stored in every node. So if you decided to become a node, then you will need to have large storage SSDs to store files like this. Now, there are many types of nodes in the blockchain. Nodes can be terminal or a computer or smartphone or whatever it is. Okay? Now, the first one is full node. The full node holds a copy of the blockchain files and store it locally. So For example, blockchain file of the Bitcoin at September 23 was 688 gigabytes. It's very big. So not everyone can be a full node. This file will grow over time because, as you know, the transaction happens every day. So this blockchain size will grow over time. So when you decided to become a full node, you have to keep up with the blockchain size. Second is the half node. Half node doesn't have to store all the blockchain file. Half node connected to the full node, and end user usually connected to the half node. So half node is like the middleman in the business. So next is the miner or stakers. Miner or stakers only exists. Miner only exists in the proof of work blockchain, and stakers only exists in the proof of stake blockchain. So in Bitcoin, you have miners, and in, let's say, Ethereum, you will have stakers. Nah, miner and staker, they perform their duty to maintain the integrity of the blockchain. They spend hash power and they stack cryptocurrency, which is very expensive. So many people they don't really qualify to become a full miner or full staker. So usually we group, we made group, and we connected to the mining pool. It's called mining pool or staking pool. So we can be fully eligible as a full miner or full staker. The last one is a master node. Master node is a special node, especially in the proof of stake blockchain. It performs special duties such as voting and so on. This is the detail of each node. It's a bit technical actually, so we will not bring this up today. Nah. Okay, now let's see into the different types of blockchains. The first one is public blockchain. Think of it as a completely open network. Anyone can join, and it's permissionless, meaning everyone can participate and leave whenever they like. As long as we fulfill the requirements, we can read, write, verify, and participate in consensus mechanism. Bitcoin and Ethereum are prime example. Their strength lies in their transparency and decentralization. Second one, we have private blockchain. This is permission network where access is restricted. Only certain authorized nodes can participate. These are often managed by a single organization or small consortium or collection of organizations. The benefit here is control and privacy. And the last one is hybrid blockchain, which combines elements of both public and private blockchains. It allows some data to be public and decentralized while keeping other parts private and controlled. This approach offering transparency and decentralization alongside the control and privacy that some entities require. Okay, again, this is a detailed explanation of the blockchain types. We will not explain this today. Okay. Now, since its birth, blockchain has been divided into 4 generations. The first generation focuses on decentralized digital currency. So, first generation is all about cryptocurrency. Example of this generation is blockchain and Litecoin. They are the pioneer here. The key feature is peer-to-peer electronic system, which revolutionized how we think about currency. Now, this was the foundation of blockchain technology as we know it. Moving on to the second generation, we see the birth of Ethereum, Ripple, and Stellar. This generation introduced the concept of a programmable blockchain. A distinctive feature here is the ability to use smart contracts or small programs which run on the blockchain, which automate and enforce agreement. Blockchain projects emerge, but also they need money. So in this period, initial coin offering or ICOs became very common. In the third generation, the example is Cardano and Polkadot, where the focus shifts to scalability, interoperability, and governance. These blockchains are designed for enterprise-grade scalability and modularity, allowing different systems to work together seamlessly. It's about building a more interconnected blockchain ecosystem. And finally, the fourth generation encompasses platforms like VeChain and IoTeX. Here, the focus is on integrating AI and IoT, enabling real-time analytics and automation across the industries. This generation is about cross-industry adoption and the interplay between blockchain, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things. Now, so these are some benefit of the blockchain. The first is decentralization and trustless environment. This creates a trustless. This means this means that no single authority control over the network, which significantly reduce the risk of censorship, enhance transparency. Trust is built through consensus among participants. Next, the transparency and immutability of blockchain are key. Every transaction is permanently recorded on a transaction ledger, ensuring that once that is added, it cannot be altered retroactively. This offers confidence in data integrity. Next, security is another major advantage. The use of cryptographic and decentralization verification makes blockchain highly resistant to tampering and fraud, providing a robust defense against hacking and you know, hacking or something like that. Efficiency gains are also notable by eliminating intermediaries and automating processes with smart contracts. Blockchains can reduce delays and cut costs. There's ongoing research into developing low energy blockchain platform, which could enhance this benefit further. Okay. However, the blockchain is not without limitation. First of all, scalability and throughput constraints are significant issues. While Bitcoin and Ethereum process a small number of transactions per second, centralized systems such as Visa can handle thousands of transactions per second. This creates bottleneck, slowing down potential widespread adoption of blockchain. Secondly, network congestion and rising fees are common problems. You see, because the blockchain has automatic mechanism to normalize the transaction, the number of transactions. So when the transaction is higher, the transaction cost will be the network will rise the transaction cost. So this is a very common problem in a blockchain like Ethereum. So when you deploy a smart contract, you will need to find a better timing to do it, because when it's not the correct timing, then your transaction will, well, it will cost you very much. Another critical challenge for the blockchain is high energy consumption, particularly with the proof of work system, which has raised sustainability concern. We are become more environmentally conscious. Finding greener solution will be crucial for the future of blockchain. Okay. Plus, security risks remain a concern. Vulnerabilities like 51% attacks and smart contract bugs pose significant threats, especially in public blockchain. We will give this example of this later. So, as we discussed before, running a blockchain node is quite expensive. This is where cryptocurrency slides in. Simply said, cryptocurrency is a digital or virtual currency. It's nearly impossible to counterfeit or double spend because it runs on the blockchain, which is a significant advantage in maintaining trust in digital transaction. Cryptocurrency is so crucial for paying participants and securing transactions across this network. Think of it as the fuel that power the blockchain. However, because there is no central authority, cryptocurrency's value is purely based on supply and demand. Now, the problem is human is easy to manipulate. They have fear, and also human have greed. This is why the crypto market is known for its high volatility. This volatility is influenced by factors like demand regulation, technological development, and so on and so on. So it changed very fast. So if we talk about cryptocurrency, there are some level in the cryptocurrency. First, we have coins. Coins are cryptocurrency which are native to their respective blockchain. Example of this are Bitcoin and other coins. Now, Bitcoin is we call Bitcoin gold of the cryptocurrency. because it was the first and remained the largest cryptocurrency. Now, the second type of coins is altcoins. Altcoins simply means cryptocurrency other than Bitcoin. So, Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin, and so on and so on, they fall into altcoin category. The third one is token. Token is cryptocurrency or digital asset built on blockchain platform. So these are smart contract based product. Okay? And the last one is stable coins. So stable coins are designed to minimize price volatility by pegging their value to stable assets like the US dollar. For example, USDT. This is the USDT token that are tethered or pegged into USD value. So 1 USDT is equal to 1 USD. So to interact with the blockchain and to store your asset, cryptocurrency or running a smart contract and so on, you will need a software called wallet. Technically, a wallet stores your private keys and your addresses. Now, there are some type of wallets available in the market, such as hot wallet, software, non-custodial or custodial, and paper wallet. This wallet was supposed to be anonymous. It means that if you have a wallet, then nobody in the world will know that this address, certain address, is belong to you unless you tell them. But many custodial implement KYC or know your customer. It's a process used by financial services such as crypto custodial services to verify our real identity as a part of legal regulatory framework. Now, a smart contract first made with the Ethereum blockchain. So since Ethereum blockchain can run a program on the blockchain, since it is stored and run in the blockchain, this program inherit the nature of the blockchain, which is immutable, tamper-resist, and transparent. Smart contracts are self-executing programs where the terms are embedded directly into the code. They are pre-programmed. So as long as the program, the condition are met, so the program will execute the code. Smart contract eliminates the needs for intermediaries, such as broker, lawyer, which mean we will have a simplified transaction. Now, NFTs are unique digital token on the blockchain representing ownership of something of a kind, whether it's digital, art, music, or even virtual real estate. I think we will skip this one too. Nah, this is a digital asset quadrant. We will skip this. Now, as a conclusion, first, blockchain is a decentralized and trust without intermediaries. This means transactions can occur without a central authority, which is transformative for finance, banking, and payments. Next, we have immutability and transparency. Once data is recorded on the blockchain, it is incredibly difficult to alter. This is crucial for sectors like supply chain management, voting, and governance, where integrity is paramount. Then there are smart contracts. These are self-executing rules that automate processes, reducing manual efforts and minimizing errors or disputes. They are game-changing in industries like insurance and lending. Traceability and provenance are also vital, especially in verifying origin and tracking goods in supply chain. Lastly, tokenization of assets allow things like real estate or art to be represented on a blockchain, enabling fractional ownership and easier transfer. This opens new doors in property and asset management. Now, our blockchain projects over the last few years. Unfortunately, there are many projects, but few survive. This is because implementing a full-scale blockchain will require significant efforts. Mostly, and sadly, it is required to change on how people think, and it will change the habit of the people. So this is very difficult. So think of social engineering, think of the fear, think of the greed. So yes, this is very difficult. So implementing a full-scale blockchain is very difficult. Now, why we need blockchain? This is a real case, by the way. The first reason is because too much power for too few entities. So this is a story. I found this in Instagram that sanctions, the United States use sanctions to turn down a nation. For example, U.S. sanctioned Iran in, I don't know, 80s, perhaps. When the U.S. sanctioned Iran, they export, crash, their economic cripple, the currency lost 90% of its value. So if you can buy an egg for 1,000, perhaps, then that 1,000 will be worth just 10. So another example is when US sanctioned Russia, they freezing about $600 billion of Russian reserve. Visa and MasterCard pull out of Russia. So Russian students, Russian people overseas cannot cash in their money because their cards are rejected by Visa and MasterCard. The second one is why we need blockchain, because people tend to cover the truth, find the loophole in the regulation for what? Cuan, money. This is also news from, I don't know, maybe a month ago, when the US put uh, put on tariff war on everyone on this earth, every country on this earth. So Not long after, uh, Chinese people, they uncover the hard truth. Most of luxurious goods, bags, fashion, shoes, turn out to be made in China. So your LV bags, they are made in China. Why this has happened? Because there is a loophole in the regulation. I put that uh, tanda kutip in the loophole because I don't know, maybe they are there for a reason. So the US custom rules state that further work or material added in another country must affect a substantial transformation to convert that other country as a country of origin. So that for example, the US they import bags from the China, they stamp their brand and they add the zipper and they claim that oh this zipper is substantial transformation to the product. So we can claim that this bag was made in US. But that's not the real problem. That's not the real thing. You only stamp and add the zipper. Now, this is why we need blockchain. This is also uh, latest case in the blockchain. This show uh, UX Link hack. UX Link is a token. Yes. It's a Web3 social platform. Basically, it's a smart contract with its own token, UX Link. Now, on September 22nd, the UX Links was hacked. The hacker exploited the code. They remove administrator privilege and claiming ownership, and they secretly creating illegal tokens and flooding market with tokens. As you know, uh, the cryptocurrency market is based purely on supply and demand. If there are too many products in the market, the price will go down. You see here, the, the price fall to near zero. Yes, the developer, they detect this anomaly and they made changes to the contract. They create patches and they move uh, to new smart contract, but damage has been taken. And this is a very hard to recover. So this is what happened in the blockchain what recently. So it's not all about good things. Bad things can happen too in the blockchain. Uh, yeah, okay. Okay, I think that's it. Yes, thank you. Miss
Okay.
Anissa?
Yeah. uh, do we open the discussion, Pak?
Yes,
Kita
please.
buka aja sesi diskusinya.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, thank you very much, Bapak Agung, for such insightful presentations. Now it's time for our Q&A sessions, everyone. You may directly ask your question by raising your hand and unmuting your microphone.
But please don't ask me which coin should I buy.
All right. Don't ask about a coin here, guys. Ask about the material. Or you can also chat in the chat box, yeah, and I'll be happy to read it for you. So who would like to start? Anyone to start first? Ini sepertinya masih. Don't be shy, everyone. Jangan malu-malu. Bisa raise hand.
By the way, tadi suara kedengeran jelas nggak?
Kedengaran, Pak. It's okay, Pak. Kedengaran.
I'm supposed to be bed rest now.
Kedengaran kok, Pak, aman, Pak.
Okay. Well, this is new.
Well, everyone, do you have a questions? You can raise your hand, give the raise hand icon, and then unmute. Then you can ask directly to Mr. Agung.
Miss Anissa, there is a 10 question quiz in the
Okay.
MOC. I don't know.
So the
Can
quiz
they
will
access that?
be the quiz will be shared now or separated, Pak?
It's okay. Now it's okay.
So Bapak will share in the screen or will share the file?
Saya masukin di MOC. Jadi mereka
Okay. Mereka yang akses ke
sepertinya
sana
mereka
ya,
harus
Pak?
sepertinya
Okay.
mereka bisa enroll nggak? Sudah enroll nggak?
Sepertinya sih bisa ya, Pak. Coba saya tanya ya. Everyone, can you access the MOOC for the Malaysian student? Sudah, Bapak. Seperti yang sudah dijawab Ibu manajer kami, Ibu Indah. Sudah enroll semua, Bapak.
Wait.
Iya.
Uh,
So, ini sudah di-share ya, Pak? Bisa dikerjakan sekarang atau dikerjakan setelah after the class, Pak?
boleh. Sekarang juga boleh. Nah,
Oke,
juga boleh.
so
It's just
mau dikasih waktu pengerjaannya, Pak, atau bagaimana?
sudah di waktu 10 menit kalau nggak salah.
Okay, right. So everyone, you can access in MOOC, open the question, and then you have the 10 minutes to work on the assignment. And then nanti dibahas, Pak. Will be discussed.
Nggak perlu lah sepertinya karena itu that's basic question, very basic lah.
Okay, all right. So class, you have a 10 minutes to finish to answer some questions in the MOOC, yeah. You can open the MOOC now. Itu diisi di Selowe ya, Pak? Via di Selowe kan ya, Pak? Atau via website?
Maksudnya gimana, Mbak?
Di MOOC itu mereka sudah tahu aksesnya kan ya, atau perlu dijelaskan, Pak, ke yang Malaysia ini?
Sepertinya
Tidak perlu ya, Pak
kalau
ya?
yang kemarin sudah dilaksanakan kayaknya
Ya, yang
langsung
sesuai yang sebelumnya ya, Pak. Oke. Alright, Andi, wait a second ya. Andy, we will share the link after this, yeah? Please kindly wait a moment.
This is my emoji. Oh, I don't know. Yang mengakses belum?
Okay, I will share in the chat box for everyone. If you cannot share, you can type to the link. Okay. Students, you can check the chat box. I already shared the link for the MOOC Telkom University. Okay, Andi, wait a moment, yeah. I will I will show the problem in a minute, yeah. Okay, everyone, seems some of the students cannot access the MOOC platform. So let's we move to the Q&A session first, yeah? And then to the students, we will share the access through the Andi, and maybe if the student also, another student also have the problem, you can type in the chat, and then we will give you the access after this, the solutions, yes? Okay. Yes, for the students, if you have a problem, we will solve it in a minute. So let's move to the question and answer session first, yeah. Okay. Anyone who answered ask directly to Bapak Agung, you can raise your hand or type the questions in the chat box, yeah. Okay. Questions, everyone? Or Pak Agung want to ask a questions directly maybe Pak to students. Sepertinya mereka masih ada yang mau masuk ke emosinya, masih fokus gitu. You can leave the MOOC guys. You can back to the screen again. We move to the question and answer session.
Mau dibikin manual aja nggak? Kan cuma 10 ya.
Ya, boleh Pak.
Ya, saya tampilkan satu-satu. Nanti everyone of
Can
you
answer ya Pak.
ya answer. Ya, you open your notebook
Okay.
or something, write down your
Alright.
answer, and okay.
Boleh Pak, boleh Pak. That's a good solution Pak. Okay, everyone, you can leave the MOOC. You can back to your screen again. Bapak Agung will share the question and then please answer directly. Yeah. Okay, Pak. You can share the screen.
Oke, lihat sudah nampak.
Ya, Pak, visible.
Oke. Bisa. Wah, susah juga. Seperti ini mungkin ya. Oke. Okay, students, this is the question one. Which of the following best describes... sudah siap belum ini? Sudah siap
Can
ya?
you raise your hand, everyone,
Asal
to show
aja.
it you ready? Raise hand or thumbs up. Action, reaction, thumb reaction. Beberapa ini sudah, ya beberapa udah kasih reaction, Pak. Bisa, Pak? Sudah siap, Pak? Ready?
Baik.
Okay,
So,
yes.
instead of waiting for the MOC, and this quiz has only 10 questions, so it's not a long quiz. So number one, which of the following best describes cryptocurrency? A, an identity verification tool. B, a physical form of money. C, a form of digital money built on blockchain. Or D, an online bank account. So, you may make your guess.
Okay. Who's thumbs up? You can give a thumbs up or raise hand if you want to answer. Everyone. Please. Okay, Karin, you can unmute yourself, Karin. I saw you give the thumbs up. Hello, Karin. Do you hear me?
Malu seperti
For anyone? Answer number one. Come on. Ini agak. Oh, Andri. Okay, Andri, you can unmute yourself, Andri.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Maybe the answer should be a form of digital money built on blockchain. Maybe
Okay,
my opinion.
correct.
Is it
Okay.
correct, Pak?
Yes, that's the correct answer.
Yeah, thank you,
It's accuracy, it's
Andri.
Welcome.
Okay, move on to the next question.
Okay, ready everyone for number two?
One potential benefit of blockchain is A, easy alteration of records. B, increase transparency and trust. C, centralized decision making. Or D, unlimited storage space. Okay. Pick your guess, people.
Okay, number two, everyone. After Andri. Oh, from Nur Hafiza. B, increase transparency and trust. Is it correct, Pak Agung?
Excuse me, what is it?
Ini ada jawaban, the answer from Nur Hafiza.
Okay.
Answernya B, increase transparency.
Okay, that's correct answer.
Correct ya, Pak ya? Okay, thank
On
you.
to the next question.
Okay. Thank you, Nur Hafiza.
Thank you. How are transactions stored in a blockchain? A, grouped into blocks. and linked in a chain. B, as separate files in each user's computer. C, in a private folder of each participant. D, as plain text in one server.
Okay, number 3. Anyone? You can type the answer. Oh, Nadia Kunanti. Oh, ada 2 orang nih Pak yang jawab Pak.
Okay.
Nadia answer A, and then Sasi Azhari also answer A.
Okay, that's the correct answer.
Correct answer ya Pak?
Thank you. Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Nadia. See.
All right. We move to the next
Next.
question.
One major limitation of the blockchain is A, scalability and high energy use. B, it always runs offline. C, it cannot be used for finance. D, it has no security at all.
Number 4, everyone. Number 4. Sasi again. Sasi answer again, Pak. The answer is A.
Group
Also,
into
Salda
blocks
Pasha
and
also
link in
A.
a chain. Okay.
And Nur Hafiza
Okay, A
also
is the
A.
correct answer.
Correct ya, Pak? Okay.
Okay.
Sasi, Salda, and Nur Hafiza, thank you ya. Jawabannya betul. Correct answer.
Yeah, next question. Which of the following is a consensus mechanism? A, smart contract. B, public key. C, encryption. D, proof of work. Or POW.
Number 5. Come on. Oh, now Gilang Aditya. The first
Okay.
one. D, proof of work, Pak.
Okay, that's the correct answer.
Correct. Also, Siti
Proof
Makuro
of
and
work
also
is a
Nadia
consensus.
ya. Yes. Jawabannya D ya, Pak.
Yes, worker is called miners.
Okay. Right. Gilang, Siti, and Nadia, correct.
Next, what is a node in blockchain technology? A wallet address. B, a smart contract. C, a participant computer in the blockchain network. D, the signature on a transaction.
Come on. The answer, everyone. Okay, Sazi, the first answer, C. Sazi and Nadia, C. Gilang, oh banyak Pak sekarang Pak. Gilang, Siti, Andri, Hafiza, C semua Pak. Wah,
Okay.
betul nggak Pak tuh Pak? Is it
Okay,
correct
that's the
Pak?
correct answer. Yes.
Oh, correct
So
everyone.
node is a participant computer. When we say computer, it's not limited to PC or laptops. Smartphones also can become a node.
Oke. Jadi jawabannya betul ya Pak? This is correct?
Yes.
Correct ya. Oke, congratulations
Next.
banyak nih. Sudah mulai
What
panas.
What is a blockchain? A single centralized database. B, a type of cryptocurrency. C, a distributed digital ledger. D, a programming language. Okay.
Oke, ini jawab C, Pak. Ada Siti, ada Tiara, Rasya, Francisco, sana banyak sekali ini yang jawab. C.
So blockchain is a distributed digital ledger.
Yes. Okay. Right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Next is what is an NFT or non-fungible token? A cryptocurrency mining tool. B, a unique digital asset representing ownership. C, a divisible token like Bitcoin, or D, a type of smart contract?
B. The answer B, Pak. Banyak nih, saya bingung menyebutkan nama-namanya banyak sekali. Francisco.
NFT is a unique digital asset. They represent ownership of the asset. So
Okay.
B is the correct answer.
All right. Congratulations, everyone.
Okay, next, what role does identity play in blockchain? A, everyone uses their real world ID. B, only governments use blockchain IDs. C, identities are hidden. Only pseudo-anonymous address are used. D, blockchain does not allow identity at all.
Belum selesai, it's not ready, it's not finished yet. Dibaca sudah jawab, Pak. C.
You don't use AI, don't you?
Ke ini ya, Pak ya, suspicious ya. Suspicious guys. No, mereka pintar lah, mereka menyimak berarti, Pak.
Okay, last one. Which element ensures that once data is added to a blockchain, it cannot easily be altered? A, database indexing. B, cryptographic hashing. C, cloud storage. Or D, encryption only.
B, Virginia Putri Muhammad Ferry, jawab B, Pak.
Okay. So cryptographic hashing ensures that once data is added, it cannot be altered because the cryptographic hashing output will be different if we alter the data.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it
That's
the end
it,
of the question ya, Pak?
Okay, the end of the question.
Okay.
Nomor 2 tadi.
Any question from you guys? Pak Agung already give you questions. Now question from you all. Any question?
So I think blockchain is a good topic for today's students, because well, like I said before, we have a lot of projects
Yeah.
about blockchain, smart contract, but we have so little talents. So jangankan mahasiswa gitu ya, even in the lecture, there's not much lecturers know about blockchain. So this is opportunity for you guys.
Opportunity untuk ini ya, Pak, explore more about the blockchain ya, Pak ya.
And the pay grade is very high, you know.
Yeah.
International, of course ya, yang not national. National mah, ya so-so lah. But if you work overseas and you understand blockchain and smart contract, you can have a very good salary.
So guys, you can explore about the blockchains and learn more, and then work after graduate ya, Pak, with the high salary ya,
Yes.
Pak. Okay. No more questions? Any question, everyone? Oke, kayaknya sepertinya tidak ada pertanyaan ya Pak. Sepertinya ini. Tadi sambil sudah
Kita
beri
cukupkan.
pertanyaan. Ada yang mau disampaikan Pak for the last point about our
Ya, mungkin
topic today? Oh, ada Pak, ada pertanyaan. I want to answer. Sorry. Okay.
potensi blockchain
Let's read the question. I will read the question.
di masa depan realistis diterapkan di Indonesia. Oke, kalau masalah realistis, it's very realistic, tapi balik lagi, environment sepertinya masih kurang mendukung, apalagi kalau banyak kepentingan politik. Karena if you use blockchain that ya datanya as is, tidak ada campur tangan atau apa ya, ya seperti apa adanya datanya dan tidak bisa dimanipulasi. Kadang-kadang manipulasi ini juga apa ya, dilakukan dengan tujuan politis. Nah, itu makanya that's why on full scale it's very difficult to implement the blockchain. Oke. Next perhaps Miss Anissa.
Yeah, MTF. Next question about MTF, Pak. NTF. Explain
NFT.
it more.
Pernah main game digital? Nah, tiap orang kan pasti punya aset ya. Kayak misalkan I play Pokemon, so I collect Pokemon monster. So each Pokemon is an asset, but they are the same. For example, a Snorlax will look the same to everyone. Now NFT is unique, so it's like misalkan lukisan itu kan cuma satu ya, only one. Nah, kalau di dunia nyata lukisan itu ada fisiknya, tapi kalau di dunia digital yang namanya digital, begitu kita scan lukisan kan jadinya data, jadinya file. Kalau file gampang diduplikat. You Ctrl C Ctrl V jadi duplikatnya. Nah, NFT mencegah hal tersebut. Jadi dengan adanya NFT, suatu aset itu hanya bisa unik untuk satu-satunya.
Ini ada tentang freelancer or small business owner can use DeFi services, Pak, such as stable coins or lending.
Ya, prinsipnya sih decentralized finance gitu ya, services decentralized finance such as stable coins or lendings. Kalau kita ngomongnya internasional, dia lebih stabil. Tapi kalau kita ngomongnya nasional, agak susah. Balik lagi karena regulasi. Kalau kita banyak berhubungan dengan dunia internasional, it's okay pakai decentralized finance services. Tapi kalau misalkan klien kita segala macamnya nasional, ya it's better to use a traditional bank. Seperti itu.
Okay.
Karena kalau misalkan kita transfer atau convert currencies di decentralized finance itu biasanya lebih murah. Kalau traditional bank harus ke luar negeri, kirim uang ke luar negeri dan seterusnya gitu ya. Tapi kalau misalkan ya itu tadi tergantung kayak bisnis kita gimana. Kalau internasional, it's okay mungkin pakai crypto. Tapi kalau nasional, I think it's better to use traditional banks.
Is there any other questions, everyone, before we ended our class for today? Masih ada yang ingin bertanya, teman-teman? Kalau ada yang bertanya bisa langsung ditanyakan lagi sebelum kita akhiri kelas hari ini. Before we end our class for today.
Mungkin a little bit announcement.
Boleh,
Yes,
Pak, silakan.
Saya nitip iklan. Mungkin tidak lama lagi komunitas kita, Value Blockchain Community, kita akan bikin pelatihan smart contract workshop yang nanti mungkin tunggu aja pengumumannya gitu ya. Jadi kita akan mulai belajar bareng dari nol gitu ya, cara bikin wallet, cara mendapatkan kripto, cara coding, cara deploy di blockchain, cara berinteraksi dan seterusnya. Nah, nanti ditunggu aja. Mungkin dalam waktu kurang dari 1 bulan lah, seperti itu.
Oke, itu online, Pak, atau bagaimana, Pak?
On-site.
On-site, oke. Nah, mungkin untuk yang dari Malaysia bisa datang ke sini ya, Pak ya?
Kalau mungkin kalau ada yang berminat, mungkin kita bisa share link Zoom-nya lah.
Jadi hybrid seperti itu ya, Pak?
Ya, betul.
Oke.
Itu ya tergantung sikon lah.
Okay, right. Friends from Malaysia, maybe you can join the latest event ya, Pak ya. Mungkin around 1 month ya, dalam waktu 1 bulan ini, Pak ya.
Lah kita arrange dulu lah.
Okay, we'll notify you later about the event, and then maybe you can join the hybrid mode ya, Pak.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So everyone, I think it's wrap up. No more question.
Okay, it's injury time juga nih sepertinya.
Injury time. Okay, right. Kita akhiri saja mungkin ya, Pak ya.
Betul.
Okay, right. Hang on. Okay, all right, everyone. That concludes our chapter 2 session on blockchain. On behalf of the committee, I'd like to express our deepest gratitude to Bapak Anak Agung Gede Agung for sharing his knowledge and perspective with us today. We have learned that blockchain is not just about cryptocurrency, but a powerful innovation, that brings transparency, accountability, and efficiency to accounting and financial practices in this digital era. A big thank you also goes to all participants for joining us and staying engaged throughout the sessions. And also, before we end the session, please turn on the camera. We will take a photo session to for documentation for today. Can you turn on the camera, everyone? And then also before you leave, after we take the pictures, please check your chat box. We already share a link to a feedback to gain your certificate and also for better session for next chapter, yeah. All right, give your best smile, please. On my cue, 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more ya. Hang on a second. Wait, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. And then we will meet again in the next sessions, the chapter 3 next week. in the topic of AI and machine learning will be held on October 11. Yeah. There is a changes a time. We will notify you later about the date and the time. Until then, thank you once again. Stay safe and see you all in the next sessions. Yeah. Goodbye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, goodbye. Thank you and hope you are good health.
Waalaikumsalam.
Ya,
Terima
Pak.
kasih Pak Agung.
Terima kasih Pak Agung.
Terima kasih.
Okay, don't
Miss
forget
Anissa.
to fill in the form ini ya, for feedback link ya guys.
Okay, Miss Anissa,
Ya Pak.
I'm leaving, okay?
Iya Bapak, terima kasih banyak Pak. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Don't forget to fill out the feedback link to earn your certificate and for the better session next.